and wanted to know if I'd be interested. He knew I'd made saved a little money during the war, and know if I'd be interested in putting in a grocery store there, and I said, well, I might, and we thought about it, and he could handle the meat end of it, so I put in a little store there, and it was in a credit town, and I found out pretty soon that you get more education in a credit grocery store than you would have in Harvard or somewhere for a year, because the people you think would pay you, and they won't, and the ones, the mill folks and people you think wouldn't pay you, they're there just to do it on a regular basis. So didn't lose any money on it. I sold it to somebody who was bigger sucker as I was. And then my wife, Corny, had worked in the mill at Robbins. It was hemp back in those days. And so she got a job in the plant, and I got a job at Aberdeen, which the plant wasn't even open at that point, but I went to work first day of May, 47, I suppose. And she was working up there and I here, and I was driving backwards and forwards, and managed from, we both worked in there before. Management wanted me to come to transfer back to Robbins, and I never knew what it was because it got knocked in the head before I got involved in it. But they agreed to give her a job in Aberdeen, and she could move down here and we could be together. So that's how we got to Aberdeen.
So what did you do at Aberdeen when you first went there?
Supply clerk, second shift. I was very fortunate. After maybe a couple of years, we were working like crazy. We were working, actually, it wasn't a 48-hour week. It was for first shift, but third and first shift worked 2 hours extra on Saturday nights to get off at midnight. The second shift worked till 2 o'clock Sunday morning, and the third shift came in at 10 o'clock Sunday night to get more production. Well, the supply room was right near the weave room, and the weave room is anybody knows anything about textile, that's where the money is in a mill. So I would go out, when there wasn't anything to do, I'd go out and work in the weave room, just working. Nobody ever said anything about it. You couldn't do it now. But one night a supervisor came to me and said, I wondered when you were going to come out here where you could make some money. I said, you mean I can get out there? And he said, yeah, I'll work it out. So I went in on my second shift Monday, and they told me I was to go to the weave room and train to be a weaver. Well, I'll never forget, I made $43 the last night I worked in the supply room, which was for 42 hours. And the first week I wove, I made, I think, 87 or 88. And so I thought I had arrived. And I had. And after I think I made 10 months, and I'm boasting a little bit here, but any time I'd get caught up, I'd do a little something else rather than just loaf around. So I didn't know I was being watched at the time, but apparently I was. And I was asked to take a job which paid a little bit less, but it was the next step to being a loon fixer, which was the highest paid job in the plant. And so I took that, and after a short while, I had an opportunity to go to fixing looms, which was the best paying job in the plant. In the meantime, Corny had got a promotion, and she was doing a job that was called drawing in, and that was the highest paid job in the plant other than supervision. And so we were doing pretty good till suddenly they decided to close the plant, and that sort of knocked the props out from under me. Had to start out all over again. But I was fortunate in a way, I guess. A friend of ours who had left Stevens and gone to Burlington told me that they had a plant in Venezuela that was hiring loom fixers and draw-in hands. And I went to Greensboro to the Burlington headquarters and applied, and we weren't hired on the spot. And on our way back, we stopped at a little place that had bought Glen Raven cotton mill, which you've probably heard of, near Burlington. they had bought some of the looms, and I stopped by there and they hired me on the spot to work third shift, and that was not the best in the world, staying in a boarding house 6 days a week and a family in Aberdeen, but it paid good money too, so I toughed it out for 6 months till Caragousian bought out the plant here, and then I came down here and worked, and kind of fortunate to work my way up, and maybe they couldn't find anybody to take some of the jobs, but I ended up with a fairly good job for a plowboy.